I think we should welcome our participants. It's time, and we should inform our participants that recording has started for the workshop. And if we are ready, I think Vasilis Somiadis from IMEGES-EVE, the Social Association for SMEs in Greece, should start unless participants have any technical problems and would like to solve them. And they can use their chat room.
Dear Yaman, are we almost ready?
We are ready. The recording has begun.
Okay.
I haven't received any emails regarding that they are not able to, but just in case, if any one of your friends reach you and say that they are unable, just let us know. They can reach us through the email, or I am just writing my phone number. They can reach me on WhatsApp if they would like to. We have a technician standing by, and he will try to do his best. The morning session went 90% without problems, 90% normal. But once we are in, the whole meeting went smoothly. We hope the same thing is going to happen in the afternoon session as well. And thank you very much, very, very much for coming us and supporting the project. We hope the best for everyone.
Thank you, Yaman, also for the all technical preparation of this online webinar. I would like to mention that until now we have 60 participants. It's impressive. So let's start. My name is Vasilis Iomadis. On behalf of the Small Enterprise Institute of Hellenic Federation of Professional Chambers and Chairmans, I'm the project manager of this project, and I would share my presentation with you. Okay, I think you can see my presentation.
Can you enter full screen mode, Vasilis?
Yes, I have already entered full screen. Just a moment, few seconds. Okay. So let's start with the consortium of this project. As I say, IMEGES-EVE, which is a national social partner representing very small enterprises in Greece, leading this consortium. Bahçeşehir University, the international university from Turkey, is a partner. Also, from United Kingdom, we have the research C4FR, which is a research and development organization for industry and academia. From Switzerland participates the European Foundation for Competence Certification. From Greece also participate in our project the POSEC IEC EGALEO, the Public Post-Secondary Vocational Training Institute. Also, the Greek Employment Organization, which is responsible for apprenticeship in Greece. And finally, a private IT company specialized in the e-certification system from Switzerland, the VIASYST. The main aim of the project, in the context of introducing innovation on the continuous professional development of work-based learning mentors, aim at building a specific procedure for in-company mentors participating in work-based learning. That aim will be achieved through the development of a relevant competencies, basic, transversal, soft, digital, leading to the training, assessment, and certification for the work-based learning mentors. The main project target groups, of course, the work providers, employers and staff of companies, social
Sorry.
partners and chambers.
Vasilis, can I interrupt you? I'm really sorry for interrupting. Do you have slides with your presentation? Because we are paused in the first slide.
No, I have changed slides, yes. Just a moment to share it again.
Okay.
Okay. Did you see now?
Yes, and I think you can press F5 in your keyboard, F5, in order to enter full screen mode.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I continue. Social partners and chambers. National entities related to VET, like ministries, certification bodies, stakeholders involved in the goal-based learning, EU institute involved in VET, local administration bodies, and academia. The project is consisting from 8 intellectual output. The first intellectual output refers to the course design and include the development of the mentor profiles, the evolution of a competence matrix describing main competencies, skills, and assessment criteria needed to be achieved by the incumbent mentor, and finally, the definition of the main characteristics, the structure, and the prerequisites of this course. Intellectual output 2, referring to the design of the syllabus of this course, including the course description, for example, EMS, learning goals, prerequisites, the identification of the modules and the main knowledge, skills, and competence as learning outcomes needed to be acquired, the grading scale.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt, we can't see the slides. It has remained in the previous one.
And
Yes.
Still in the third one, yes.
And
could you please enter full screen? You can click on button F5.
Vasilis, before going to share, please enter into the screen, full screen mode first, and then share it.
Okay.
Until Vasilis finishes his full screen presentation, may I remind the participants that you can always raise your hand. You can see a strip when you click on your screen, and you can see a hand. That means that you can raise your hand and you can ask any questions, and you must be able to write your questions also in the chat channel. Some of you have already written questions concerning the full screen by Mr. Siomadis. Vasilis, are you ready to continue?
Yes.
Still the third slide.
The slide is still not in full screen.
Plus, it's the third one.
yes, I think it's stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is in full screen on my desktop.
Actually, once you get into the full screen part, you can see several small shots there. I think it's the wrong one.
The wrong one.
Maybe Yaman, can you?
Yeah, I can take over the.
You can take over and you can put
That
the.
would be
I can
yes.
take over it and flip the slides for you. Don't worry. That's
We
okay.
have a plan B.
Mm-hmm.
You were here. Just tell me to
Yes.
flip the
Okay.
slides. And I
Go
The
ahead.
next slide,
Two more.
please.
Two more.
Two more, yes. Here.
Here, this one.
Okay. We are in the task 2.3. During this task, we are going to describe the necessary core requirements in terms of grading and assessment. Finally, in the framework of task 2.4, we have defined the course logistic and policies. Please, Yaman, change a slide. Let's go now to the intellectual output 3, which is the development of the certification scheme. First of all, we appoint an expert committee in order to provide comments and validate our project deliverables. Then we create the certification scheme manual through a specific process that will be followed by the consortium during the pilot phase. Finally, we produced the necessary examinations material based on this certification manual. Please change the slide, please. The intellectual output 4 refers to the creation of a course assessment system giving a gravity to the recognition of prior learning, formal or informal. Please change slide. Now, we have to develop their course and especially to develop their learning materials based on ICV requirements and also to adjust an already existing platform for apprentices developed by OAET from a previous project in APRINET in order to be used as a platform for in-company web-based mentors learning. Please change the slide. So, intellectual output 6 refers to the development of the IT competence certification platform. In this framework, an existing platform developed by EFCOCERT and VST will be adapted in order to be used for the scope of our project. Also, the integration of the exam content on the platform will take place, and also the description of the necessary workflow process will be produced. Finally, based on the results of the pilot test phase, the characteristics of this platform will be optimized and the final version will be ready. So, we are going to the test phase, including the test preparation and also the pilot implementation with the participation of trainer and trainees that will be evaluated through the e-learning training and through the certification phase. After this pilot implementation, a beta test of this certification platform with the participation of personal certification bodies will take place. Please change slide. Finally, the intellectual output 8 refers to the creation of an exploitation report in order to investigate existing alternative possibilities for further exploitation of the results. Please change, Yaman. So, which is the main project innovation aspects? First of all, the project intends to promote quality goal-based learning as intrinsic element of vocational education training, to foster innovative approaches by encompassing organizational double, triple loop learning, to validate non-formal and informal learning outcomes with the recognition of prior knowledges, to encompass intercultural competencies aligned to the needs of labor mobilities among the participant countries, to integrate the use of ICT in competencies assessment and certifications, mainly to develop a fully operable competence certification scheme for workplace mentors supported by an IT platform, and finally, to ensure transparency, recognition, and validation of qualification of workplace mentors, and it participates to the European mobility. Finally, the project expects outcomes. First of all, to promote a standardization of qualifications through the competence profile and skills needed, to develop a learning partnership which will foster mutual trust and peer learning between the different actors involved in the apprenticeship. To develop and to promote a training culture change within small and medium enterprise, mainly targeting to their transformation into quality work-based learning values. Also, the creation of a common culture and philosophy between different countries, also it is one of the main expected outcomes of the project. Finally, the involvement of a common perception on assessment and certification of in-company vendors should be the final expected outcomes. Thank you for your attention. I was very brief in order to give the floor to our college, to my parents, to our parents, in order to develop in more details the above mentioned intellectual outputs. Thank you very much.
Before we proceed to the next presentation, are there any questions that you would like now or to ask, or would you like to wait for the next presentations where the project will be more consistently presented? Is there any question that I can't see any hand? Yaman, can you see anything?
No, not yet.
So we may proceed to Miss Eliza Messiri, who will present IO2, if I remember correctly.
Yes, thank you. Can I share my screen, Yama?
Sure. Would you like me to open the presentation for you, or would you like to go ahead and share your screen?
How about now? Do you see my presentation?
Yes, we do.
Okay, you've already listened to some initial points of our project. This is our project. These are our partners. This is me, and I'm here to present you the main learning outcomes and modules of the course we are about to create for in-company mentors. So my presentation will emphasize in this question: how did the consortium think on creating the course's learning outcomes and modules? So as you can see in the next slide, first we took into consideration the first intellectual output of our program. It was a compilation of all relevant courses in and out EU based, in and out EU. Then we took out some best practices based on a template for this, we created for this purpose. And we made a desktop research and a report for our course. Then, after taking into consideration intellectual output number 1, we took into consideration the plan, do, check, act model. Some of you may already know it. So let us see it in brief. You plan what is needed, then you do it, then you check it works, and then you act in order to improve performance. Here is the implementation of this model that I have already mentioned to you in our course design. So after creating in the context of IO1 the competence matrix of a mentor, we adjusted the model in the competencies a contemporary mentor should have. So if we see here the plan section, it's about the preparation and the induction. Let's just mention one example. A mentor should have the ability to demonstrate understanding of the school's vet needs or identify the company's expectation. Let's move to the do step. He should also have the ability to, let's say, for example, the first one, welcome the mentee when he or she arrives in the company. He should also have the ability to supervise the mentee and assign him tasks on a day-to-day basis. Unfortunately, I don't have the time required to present you all these competencies that a mentor should have according to our project. Let's move to the check section. He or she should be able to apply structured and documented methods to assess at planned intervals. He should also be able to self-assess the own in-company mentoring practice. And now the final section is ACT section. He should be able to revise the objectives, for example, as necessary and justify the changes. He should also be able to plan actions for improving in-company mentoring practices. So the first step, let me revise. The first step was take into consideration IO1, best practices review. The second step was use the competence matrix that we created for a mentor and adjust it to the plan to check ACT model. The third step, we used methodologically, we used DThink's backward course design model. So that means that we took the performance criteria, I also mentioned them as competencies, and we turned them into learning outcomes. As you can see here, according to DThink, first you take learning outcomes, then according to what you want for your learner to be able to know after the courses end, you create your assessment methods. So that leads you to creating the learning activities, which finally leads you to creating the content. As you can see here, it is all about student-centered approach. This is what I've already been mentioning to you, the backwards design. You start from learning goals, you go on with learning outcomes, the assessment strategy, the learning teaching activities, and then you have a repeated alignment between these. This is the DThink design model, what he has already designed. There are 12 steps according to this taxonomy, according to this pedagogical method. I don't want you to pay too much notice here. Let's move forward. DThink created this taxonomy of significant learning, which means that he took the learning outcomes and separated them in 6 different categories. So he thought that our students, our mentees, to be precise, should be able to have a foundational knowledge, which means understanding and remembering information and ideas, should have learning outcomes in the fields of application, in the fields of integration, in the fields of human dimension, towards him or herself and towards others, in the fields of caring, and in the field of learning how to learn, which those of you who are in the training and pedagogical sector might also know as metacognitive area. This is to learn how to learn, to know how you learn better. The fourth step that we followed was to put into consideration the situational factors. Now, if you see this slide, it might be better for you, because when you create a course, you have to take into consideration the specific context of the teaching situation, the general context, the nature of the subject, but also the characteristics of the learners and the teacher as well. So all of our partners created a template according to their expertise mentioning which situational factors should be taken into consideration when creating this course. Now, let's see, if you turn this performance criteria that we've mentioned in the beginning, that is the competence of a mentor, of an in-company mentor, if you take them, you can turn them into learning outcomes, then this is what comes out. This small sentence that shows what our learner has been learning through his training. So after the completion of the course, the learner should be able to. And these are the sectors that I've already mentioned you, DeFink has pointed out, considering foundational knowledge, application, integration, human dimension of learning about oneself and others, caring and learning how to learn. Now, as I say in my slide, as I write in my slide, feedback and assessment activities had still to be defined. So assessment activities for each one of the 6 types of significant learning were developed, and each partner provided assessment activities for each type of significant learning. What is important to notice here is that all this method, DeFink's taxonomy, and the method we are applying to our course, it's a back and forth method. It means that several times during creating the syllabus, you have to go back to what you created before and change it. So this shows the interaction between the steps that we are following in order to create our course. You cannot, according to me, as I see it, from my point of view, you cannot be sure for what you created at the beginning, because then you'll go on and you might be pushed by what you've found out to go back and change what you found in the beginning. So this is the creation of the assessment activities. Now, this is the second point I would like to draw your attention to. This is the micromodularity design that we have already applied. So the micromodularity design is when you break your course into small topic-centered pieces. Allow these pieces to be utilized either independently or interrelated. So 4 modules came up. The first one, the module, is an introductory one. It is supposed to boost the excitement of the mentees, of the students following the course. You see, it is there are 3 sections and multiple topics. Let's see one topic. What is an in-company WBL mentor? The first topic. First of all, we have to define an in-company WBL mentorship. So this is the first module, broken into sessions, and sessions broken into topics. This is the second module. It pays emphasis on the mentoring in action. It is about the content of the whole relationship between the mentor and the mentee. Let's see a topic. In-company WBL mentoring need analysis. There are different in-company WBL styles. Which are there? This is the module number 3. This is the heart of the effective mentorship. It is all about open communication or potential conflict that may arrive during the relationship, during the mentorship process. I'm sorry, but I only have a limited time, so I'm running a bit in my presentation. And this is the final module. It is about processes, practices, and support. There are some technological resources that you can find. There are adult learning theories, and there is an empowering professionalism section, which is divided into separate and different topics. So I know there was a lot of information, too quick, coming in your head. But if you manage to get the gist of it and you liked what you've heard, I will pass on now the floor to our cooperator, Jenny Kalergi from Vierk Egaleo. She has prepared an feedback activity. Jenny, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Let me stop. Yaman, should I stop sharing my screen?
Yes, I think that's the best.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Elsa. So now we have prepared an interactive activity. Here we will need your participation, and this participation should be active. We will show you again the competence matrix and the learning outcomes, but this time we are going to share a link in the chat room which you will follow, and it will take you to a Google form where you will give us your feedback about these competencies. We are doing it for the first time, so in case there are some problems, I hope that you are lenient with us. So first of all, I will try to share my screen, my presentation. You have already seen very quickly the competence matrix, and now you see the learning outcomes next to them. We will give you some time to look at them before we give you the link to vote and to tell us your opinion on them. I will just repeat again that on your left side you can see the competence matrix, and on your right the aligned learning outcomes. I will again say that the competence matrix is based on the Deming cycle, as it is known. The Deming cycle is the plan, do, check, act cycle. It's a cycle that was first introduced by Walter Swisworth, but later Japanese rechristened it to Deming cycle. It was about a quality improvement of a process. Our assumption is that if we follow the same cycle for quality improvement of individuals, that means that the whole process and the organization will also share quality improvement. So for the plan phase, the preparation and the induction, we have two competencies. The first one is analyze the context. They should be able to understand that each work-based learning is not the same for each country, for each company. So they need to take into consideration the contextuality of the school needs, the company needs, and the mentee needs. And this competence leads to the learning outcomes that you can see on your right side. And we have used the verbs from the taxonomy from the Fink's backward design. And in order to demonstrate understanding for school needs, they need to be able to learn how to cooperate with all stakeholders, the school and the company. They should remember the special factors characterizing the adult learners, because their interns, their apprentices would be adults. You will be given some time to have a look at these competencies and learning outcomes. So I'm going to go to the next competence, which is the planning of the objectives of the work-based learning apprenticeship or internship. And here again, you can see the competencies on the left and the aligned learning outcomes on the right. This is the plan phase. Now, what we will ask from you, we are going to give you the link for a Google form. Let me show
I already did. I shared it now.
Yaman already did. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. If you go to the
Great.
chat, if you go to the chat board, you will see the link regarding the question for
Okay.
the first number one.
And we will give you 1 minute to have a look at the competencies and the learning outcomes again. And
So we just open the link in order to facilitate the discussion. We just press open the link. Yes.
have we shared the link?
Yes,
Yes.
we have.
The link is shared. Okay. Do you have access to the chat room? Mr. Yaman has shared a link.
Are all our guests comfortably have access to the chat room in order to receive the form? The link?
I don't, I'm afraid.
You don't have access to the link? To the chat room?
No, I don't seem to have logged in. I don't seem to have access to the chat room on my.
That's fine.
On my apps account.
Have you registered for the event by Microsoft?
Here you can see the answers. We have 3 answers so far.
Okay.
Mr. Walker, I will email you the link.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yaman.
And me, please.
We have 5.
I will open a mail, and those who don't have access to, I will keep emailing the links through the mail. So you are going to receive the links each time we open a link from here.
Okay.
So
okay.
just a moment. Let me pull out your mails from my list of participants. Frederick Walker, beginning with
7 answers, 8 answers. You can see. Can you see my screen? The answers. 9 answers.
Yes, we can, Jenny.
Yes, we do.
We have good answers. Thank you very much. We see that a lot of you agree with our plan phase. It's very encouraging for us because it was a new emerging profession, and we did a lot of desk research and checked from previous projects in order to find the tasks and the roles that a work-based learning mentor in company would do.
Who else would like to receive other than Mr. Walker? There was one more person who said I would like to receive it as well.
Okay.
I would like to receive the link, please.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And me also, please.
Thank you, Yaman.
Thank you.
Özge Seyhan, Walker, and can you?
Ian Tursley as well, if I may, please.
Your picture doesn't fit on my screen. Can you write your email on the chat board?
Thursday.
Ian Tursley.
Ian Tursley, okay.
I have access to a chat room, but it doesn't seem to be the one that you're working with.
If you have clicked on the chat tab on the left of your screen, that's not the one. You need
I've accessed the chat at the top right of the screen, and that doesn't seem to be the one you're working with. It's okay. I'll follow whatever link. Thank you.
Yaman, this is Andre Legubin over in Florida. Could you send me the link as well, please?
Could you just give me the name again?
Andre Legubin. I'll just put a note in the meeting chat.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Could I have it too, please?
Thank you.
Anne Minton.
I was going to say, I have Frederick Walker, I have Legubina,
Room leader.
Ian Tuesley,
Thank you.
those four. And Minton also.
No, me, Anastasios, please.
Just a moment. Just one by one. I'm losing you.
Yes,
Anne
please.
Tuesley.
Anne Minton.
We have two comments as well. We have 1 minute is not enough. We do understand, but unfortunately, virtual online events need to be fast because a lot of people get bored. And we have also 5 more questions for this interactive activity. And of course, there are more presentations. So we don't want to get you tired very much.
Dear Jenny, one
Yes.
question. Can we leave this Google poll open?
Open, yes.
Because, okay, I understand the 1 minute it is too short. Someone maybe he wants to think it better. So it will be a nice idea to leave it open.
Okay.
Not to close now.
Okay. Yes,
of course,
we will.
This is the first findings, and
Yes.
it, are very encouraged.
Yes, and also we have one more comment that the table looks complicated. It is very reasonable because any course design is very complicated, especially when you design a course about a profession that is now emerging, does not exist in company mentors. Right now, interns and apprentices, at least in Greece, when they go to a company, they don't meet an educated mentor to get the guidance that they really need. All companies usually assign an employee, and they say you are going to be the trainer or you are going to be the mentor for this intern, for this apprentice. And this person, this employee, really does not know what exactly they do. They improvise. They do quite well right now, but of course, they should be educated, and the professionalization of the in-company mentor is a must. And this is something that Europe has already acknowledged. So we do understand that it's a bit complicated because we started from scratch. We had first to find out what this emerging new job, new profession will do in order to derive what they should learn in order to be able to do what they are supposed to do. So yes, it might seem a little bit complicated, this table, but we need to start from scratch and find out the competencies based on these two theories, the Deming cycle, the plan, do, check, act cycle, and the Fink's backward design methodology for significant learning experiences. I don't know if we have more questions. We have 26 answers. Thank you very much. We have the student employee has a key role to play. The mentor supports their development rather than takes responsibility for driving it. Yes, we do agree. Yes, they have, of course, a relationship that is very strong, and this is in phase 3 that you will see how much we pay attention to their relationship. In phase 2, sorry. It's very important. It's not exactly driving it. A mentor is a role model, is inspiring. It's not exactly that a mentor pulls the strings, but it needs to have an inspiring role. This is what you will see in the second phase that we try to show. 1 minute is not enough. We answered that. If you have any more comments, we will leave these Google links open for you. So let's go to the second phase. The second phase, which is the do phase. What after planning, after realizing the contextual situatedness of the mentoring, what they should do. Let me share again the screen with the new, okay. This is the do. Here are the basic things, 2 basic competencies, socialization of the mentee and professionalization of the mentee, and the sub-competencies. These 2 are the basic ones, and the 2 next competencies that we have arranged are competencies to assist the socialization and the professionalization of the mentee. And this is the third competence, is implement effective mentoring practices with emphasis on adult learning and significant learning experience, learning-centered methodologies. And the last one, develop a productive in-company mentoring relationship, which is the heart of any mentoring, and that's why we have devoted a whole module for it. So these are the competencies and the learning outcomes, again using the things verbs for the do phase. And again, we are going to share a new link where you can have a look at your time to the do phase. This is the link. Yaman, can you share the link?
I already did. I'm also emailing it to Frederick, Tassos, and Minton, Özge, and Gobinia. Those 5 people.
We will give you more time because the do phase is bigger. You do understand. Basically, however, the 2 first competencies, socialization and professionalization, are the key competencies, and the other 2 come to empower the mentors so they are able to provide quality socialization and professionalization. It's, of course, bigger, and that's why we will give you a little bit more time to have a look at it, and the competencies and the learning outcomes. The do phase is the actual process of mentoring. So, of course, has a lot of competencies. Have you given the link, Yaman, for the do phase?
Yes, he has.
Okay,
we are okay.
In the chat room, and also emailed it to those five of our guests.
Probably, most probably, if you have emailed the previous one, put them in one group and email the second one, because most probably we will need to continue with the other interactive activities.
In the meantime, if someone wants something to ask orally, please raise your hand, please.
Yes.
Ne zaman
The 2 is bigger, of course, and
How's the poll going, Jen? Do we have participants? No, not yet. No, your microphone, Jen.
the do phase is bigger and we have more competencies because it's the whole process there. The other 2 phases are framing, basically, this do process. So participants will need some time to go through the basic competencies and the sub-competencies.
How many answers do we have, Jenny, until now?
We don't have. Right now, we are waiting for the answers.
But I have submitted.
You have submitted?
Yes.
Oh, let me check. Have I done something wrong? What's going on?
No, you didn't do something wrong.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. The do phase is here. Probably I've got a lot of things open. No, I can't see them. Why? Strange, isn't it?
Second time I have submitted my answers. I have seen 70 answers until now.
To question number 2?
Yes,
I mean,
question number 2. Yes.
Any participant that submits the form should be able to see the results because
Yes.
I have arranged it.
I can see the
So it can
previous
be
until
seen.
now results. Yes.
So most you see the results, although I can't see them. The participants submitting are given a link to see the results.
Now we have 20 answers.
We do have.
Yeah.
Probably because my internet failed. That's why we have these connections. So when if Vasilis, you can see the results, you can share your screen, or if Elisa can see the results, you can share the link until my internet comes back.
Actually, I can't.
You can.
Maybe no, I can't see the results.
Have you submitted?
Yes, of course. I have just done it.
Yaman, have you submit? Can you see the results?
I send you the
We can
screen.
see you, Yaman.
We can't hear you, Yaman.
Dear Jenny, I have sent you the print screen and you will see it.
I'm checking it now.
Okay.
I can share my screen if it's available to us.
And
Yeah,
there is
until my
also,
internet comes back.
I have 24 responses.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Let me share the screen. Let me share. Can I share the screen? Yes, I think I can.
Yes,
Yes, you
because
can.
my internet has fallen.
That's
I'm
my
with my
desktop.
mobile phone now.
That's fine. Okay, we have would you like to read? Would you like to read it from the screen,
Yes.
Jenny?
Mentor may not necessarily be involved in assessment. Indeed, there is an argument that they should not be involved in assessment. The mentor may not be the line manager. Again, there is an argument that the mentor should not be. Yes, there are some different options about assessing or not assessing. We have assessment in the next phase, our check phase is, and what we have chosen is to assess the final the final output, the process, and the final output. However, there are people that say that the mentor should not assess. Following our plan, do check. We cannot avoid check. Check is about assessment. We check if what we have done really works in order to work towards improvement. Because if there is no assessment, if there is no check, then we cannot be able. We won't be able to understand what should be improved, what is good and should be maintained, retained, and what is not very good and needs amelioration. So we do have assessment, and we emphasize it in our check phase. And the next question is, it is really important to assist and develop the socialization and the professionalization of the mentee through company needs. Exactly, that's why these are our two foremost competencies, and then we proceed to the next. My internet came, so let's. Yes. Okay. So I can proceed to the next slide, which is the check. I have already mentioned some things, but I will share my screen and show you the check. Check is here. Let me full screen it. The assessment, we discussed the assessment. We decided, because it's very important phase for the Deming cycle, as I said before. Deming cycle is for quality improvement, and improvement without reflection and evaluation is impossible based on this theory, the Deming cycle theory. After you plan what you're going to do and the contextuality, you take into consideration the contextuality of the situation, then you do whatever you have to do, and then you have to check. That is, you have to evaluate and reflect what was okay, what was good, what was not so good, what to keep, what to throw away. So 2 basic things, as I said before. When we go to the check phase, the assessment, the reflection, the evaluation, we assess the outcome. This is the first. And the self-assessment, the reflection, as we said. We evaluate the outcome and we reflect the process. If we want to improve things, then we need these 2 competencies and the aligned learning outcomes. Again, Yaman, can you share the link for the new poll, so our dear participants can give us their thought about this assessment, the 2 competencies.
It's common.
Assess the in-company mentoring outcomes and the self-assessment of the mentor, the in-company mentor. Assess the process, what happened in the end, what went wrong, what went good, whatever, and some reflection in order to go to the next phase, which is improvement, which is act. So this is the form that you have in front of you, the check phase, the learning outcomes, and the competencies for the check phase.
Would you like me to share the screen for the responses, or would you like to share yours? I think.
Yaman, I think you should share, because I'm trying and there is, yes, the internet connection again. So please do share.
Our guests are still giving, submitting their responses. So it's a
good. Good.
I think we are not done yet.
Let's see if there is any question. I'm gonna check the chat room as well. If there is any more questions. No, it's okay. We have also one more about assessment, one more suggestion from a participant, that the assessment should be independent. Now, if we are talking about the assessment of the course, we do have a separate certification phase. If this is the assessment that our participant, Miss Anne Mindon, if you would like to elaborate a little bit more on your suggestion on the assessments. Of course, I think our participants can also talk if they unmute their microphones. It is okay if you take the floor freely and give us your opinion orally. What are the questions, Yaman? Can you?
There isn't.
No responses. Okay. It's very encouraging that we have positive feedback from you on the path that we followed to construct this new profession, trying to follow the latest literature or on individual professional development and organizational development as well. Okay. I will continue with the next phase, the do phase, the act phase, sorry. The act phase is the last phase in the Deming cycle, which is after you have checked what is good and what is bad, then you have to choose what to improve. It's improvement, basically, this last phase. So the act phase is improvement, and this again has two basic competencies: remediate, make changes to the mentoring process, the service that a mentor offers. And you can see the aligned learning outcomes, how to learn to assess and interpret the performance and judge whatever changes might be useful to be prescribed. And I forgot to put it in a full screen. Let me put it in a full screen so everybody can see it better. And then improve the mentor's practices, how the mentor will self-improve. Again, having the assumption that if an individual improves with self-reflection, then the whole organization will be improved, apart from the service and the individual. So these two competencies are for the act, the last phase for Deming cycle. And we have again a link to share with you. Yaman, can you please share the link for the
We have a feedback from one of our guests. I do not agree that this is a new profession. Mentoring is a human. This is a new approach to mentoring.
When referring, yes.
It's from Mrs.
New profession, mentoring, yes. The profession, when we said the new profession, we are talking about the in-company work-based learning mentor. Right now, if you go to a company, because I also went last year, I was an intern in a company in Poland. As an intern, I had no one professionalized next to me to mentor my internship. So as new profession, we are not talking about mentors. Of course, the first mentor, if I remember correctly, was Ulysses' mentor, the first mentor in history. So what we are talking here is about in-company work-based learning mentors for interns and apprentices. Right now, at least in Greece, anyone, any intern or apprentice that goes to a company for apprenticeship or internship has just an employee assigned next to him or her to guide the internship or the apprenticeship. There is no professionalized mentors in these companies, especially in small or micro companies. And there is one more. When referring to assessment, I was referring to the assessment of the mentee by the mentor. This should be done by an independent person, another mentor perhaps, to ensure that there is parity of expectation. When talking about work-based learning, there is also assessment from the school, because work-based learning usually appears in dual systems, and there is assessment from another party, most probably the schools. But yes, you are right that of course any assessment should be also externally supported to be sure that everything is neutral and fair. So this is the question from the Act.
Jenny, there are
yes?
some also significant remarks in the chat, in the meeting chat from our participants.
Yes, I answered them. It was by Miss Anne Minton about the assessment from external. One was this, and one more again about if it is a new profession.
Yeah.
And I answered that. Miss Anne, you can unmute and we can discuss it if you wish. Work-based learning in the workplace still needs to be objectively assessed. The mentor is too close to undertake. Yes, there is a relationship, of course, and sometimes, but on the other hand, we need this subjective sometimes assessment, because a subjective assessment gives a perspective that an objective assessment cannot take, which is also useful if we want to have a multi-perspective in order to construct a complete and consistent picture of what the mentee is finally able to do or not do. It is not bad to have also not only a subjective perspective, but why not also have this perspective just to get another point of view? It's not bad, I would add.
Hello, it's Anne Minton here.
Yeah. Yes.
The point I'm making is that in the literature, it always suggests that for an effective mentor and mentee relationship, there needs to be that element of trust, and that it's supported, and they signpost support and access to other stakeholders. To then involve assessment in that changes that relationship, because ultimately the mentor would be judging that mentee, and that can affect that relationship. So the way I envisage mentoring works is that there is support there, they can contribute to discussions, but ultimately that decision about progress should be taken by somebody from an objective perspective who does not have that invested time in that relationship with the mentor.
Yes, very interesting point. Yes. We should keep in mind that the relationship should be taken into consideration. So we should be careful when somebody is assessed and there is a mentoring relationship, especially when this relationship is built strong. Yes, you're right. I think we have taken, we need this type of feedback. We appreciate all this feedback. So please feel free to add anything you think is missing. Even if you think about it later, we will leave these links.
Alarm çalar, bir şey olur, bir şey için gelmem gerekir. Onların hiçbiri bilmiyorsun. Alarm da var. Benimkisi bende dursun. Yarın sabah oraya bırakacağım. O zaten pazartesi gelecek bir dahaki hafta.
Okay. So we can go to the last phase. This last phase is not by Deming cycle. It's a phase we added because we thought that soft skills should be separate in another phase that we named B, and should encircle all the other phases. These are the soft skills that we think that the mentor should have, and the learning outcomes, how we can, how is it possible to build, to learn, to teach these soft skills. So this is the last phase, our phase, the soft skills, the social, managerial, and behavioral traits that the mentor should have for quality mentoring in company, work-based learning companies. So this is a pre-final question that we will ask for your feedback. If Yaman could share the link in the chat room. And we would like your feedback on this phase as well, because this is not in Deming cycle. As I told you before, Deming cycle stops with ACT, stops with improvement. B is in the middle of the cycle for us, because B affects all the phases.
Link shared.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You probably see the results because when you submit, you can see the results. I will try also to see if my links work now for the B phase. We have also in the chat room from Mr. Kokosis, I believe the in-company trainer can evaluate probably a trainer is a different thing from a mentor. We spend a lot of time in the beginning of this project to differentiate the mentor from the trainer. A trainer is a different thing. A trainer is kind of a teacher. A mentor is a different thing. A mentor can supervise a lot of trainers, or the mentor can also be a trainer. A mentor is a different thing than a trainer. And the difference is the relationship, the inspiring, the role modeling link they have with the mentee. internal assessment always helps the company to improve its business operation. Of course, yes. This is the horizontal organizational model, which of course is very important for quality improvement. Here you can see again, let's see if there are questions. No, there are no questions here. In the chat room, I have already. And the last question for my interactivity, I'm sorry, it was the first one and maybe it took a long of time. I hope I didn't overdid it. So now the last question we have for you is the level. Now, what we try to do is, oops, no, let me share the level with you. We tried to define the level for the course, and for this purpose, we resorted to the European Professional Charter for Mentors and Coaches. And there we found the descriptors for the two first levels. There are 4 levels in total. The 2 first levels were the foundation and the practitioner. So we tried to focus on these 2 levels for our learning outcomes. So the foundation level, you can see, is for individuals who wish to gain an understanding of the practice, for mentoring, and they will be working with others, and they wish to use this approach for their work, for their roles. And the practitioners, who will either be working as an internal mentor, or it could be their main job, or they could be an external mentor. Could just be a company that provides mentors externally to other companies. So we try to align our learning outcomes and our assessment criteria to these 2 levels. So what we want from you is to look at these descriptors, and from the competence matrices that you have already evaluated, we would like to see if you agree that after taking our course, after finishing the modules with these learning outcomes, if our learners would be able to have these 2 levels, the foundation level and the practitioner level, if they can be either internal mentors or external mentors. So, Yaman, can you give the last link, please?
I shared it already.
Thank you. So if you have more questions, or you can, if you have more feedback to give us for the learning outcomes and the competence matrix that we have presented to you, and the levels, feel free to unmute your microphone and have a discussion. We are going to devote more time on the modules later when describing the development of the course. Thank you so much for your feedback and for your questions and your suggestions. They're really invaluable.
I think we have Yaman, we have a raised hand.
Do we?
Yes, by our guest. Legubina is the guest.
Yes,
yes. Can they unmute their microphone?
Hello there. This is
Yes.
Captain Andre Legubin. Hello. Yeah, Captain Andre Legubin. I'm Vice President with the Nautical Institute, and thank you very much for your invite to the Nautical Institute here today. Delighted to be here, and thank you for your answers, Jeannie, so far. Do you envisage your professional mentor and certificated mentor being paid for this task, or will it be more of an altruistic post within the company?
Well, all professions have some type of altruism and some type of payment. I mean, nothing is black or white. Me as a teacher, I am paid, but some things I do are not paid. I believe all types of professions include some type of altruism as well. It depends on the professionalism. It's a soft skill. We do have integrated professionalism in our soft skills. Whatever has to do with learning has some traces of altruism because of Socrates and his legacy. So I think, yes, there is some altruism in it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So I think that the time has already passed for this session, and I would propose to give the floor to the next speaker, to Mr. Didier Blanc, in order to present the main findings of Intellectual Output 3 of the certification scheme. Didier, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yaman, it would be nice if you could share my presentation. It might be easier. Yeah. Yes, thank you. If you can take it full screen. Perfect. So next slide, please. Yeah. Okay, just a couple of words on EFCOCERT. Vasilis told you EFCOCERT stands for European Foundation for Competence Certification. there are two major backgrounds behind EFCOCERT. Firstly, it is a Swiss foundation that we founded 6 years ago, almost exactly, for ensuring the sustainable exploitation of first competence certification scheme that we did develop within, at that time, Leonardo da Vinci project. This was for us our first experience in an EU project, but not in a computer certification scheme. Our background is certification. We have 25 certification experience for management systems and for persons or competencies. A lot of training, adult training experience. And this is actually through this expertise that we were invited in this first project at that time. And from there, we specialized EFCOCERT for developing ISO compliant, because most of the certification business that we did operate was based on ISO standard. I am myself involved as an ISO international expert since almost 20 years for ISO 9001, ISO 22000 for food safety management system, things like that. So we are devoted to apply for ISO consistent processes. Within the ISO framework, there are two things that are relevant for projects, two main things. One is standard ISO 17024, which is the requirement standard for certification bodies for personal or for competency certification. And this is one of our reference texts that we apply and take care of for ensuring that we develop certification schemes that are compliant with ISO 17024. And the second relevant ISO thing that we use and that is part of the way we operate in such projects is to apply the ISO standardization guidelines for developing the normative text, if I dare saying so, which is, as already said, assembling an experts committee with representative of all the stakeholders. In our case, mentors, professional schools, employing mentors, or in contact with in-company mentors, universities, also involved in WPL learning, and all these kinds of experts. And the way it works is there is a first draft produced, it is circulated between the experts, and the experts receive also a commenting template for formatting their feedback. And this feedback is then treated by the editorial team. Proposed answers are circulated, and this allows moving to the next version, which is again circulated and so on for 2 or 3 cycles. So that over the time we come to a consensus, which is a key word within ISO standardization, which we also hope we are reflecting with the process. I don't know whether you see correctly the presentation. For me, I have a slide for almost 2 seconds and then 10-second blank. Is it okay for you? So maybe, no, the previous slide, please, Jana.
Certainly.
If you can show again the previous slide. Origin is the project, the origin of the scheme. This is going to be part of the introduction of the scheme, so this don't learn anything with that. Next slide. Definitions. This is maybe important after 1.5 hours that we are speaking about work-based learning and the mentors. So these are the definitions that we drafted within the certification scheme. We started with WBL, starting from a CEDEFOP version, which you have here. Then what is mentoring, guidance and support provided, and so on. And then once you have both mentoring and work-based learning defined, it is easy to just to say that the WBL mentor is a guy or a lady providing mentoring services within WBL context. So this is the way it is defined. It might seem a bit tricky or a bit twisted, but we tried to find something which would apply in any case, and also to rely on existing definitions for WBL on one side and for mentoring also on the other side. And as we are within a European project, of course, we opted for CEDEFOP or Europass definition. So this is what we're talking about. Within the project's first meetings and documents and so on, there were some discussions whether WBL mentor is only in our project is only about in-company or also about external WBL mentor. We opted for an open approach, but I hear still very often in-company, but of course in-company mentors are targeted, part of it, at least. Next slide, please. This is just the standardization process, which I explained you, proposition, working draft, and so on, with the successive circulating and balloting between experts. So with that, just to say that actually, as we will have a pilot phase of the project and an inclusive pilot testing of the certification approach, we will open a last commenting round on the actual status of the scheme, so that participants to the pilot test, either candidates for certification, either examiners, or either superviewers or whatever, and other experts who applied also. I had some applications these last 10 days since we invited for the event. All other participants which are attending right now, if you see an interest after the presentation to be involved as experts for raising some comments, please apply, and you will be invited in parallel to the pilot testing to provide some comments, which will be dealt with for developing the final version, which will be released early next year. Next slide, please. Go to the next slide. Go to the next slide.
The next one, not the experts.
Yes, please. Yes, please, Yaman.
Okay.
This is not the very last status. This is the list of some of the experts that participated. This is an example of a commenting template. You see, you have the expert, you have the chapter or the clause number which is addressed, whether it is technical, general, or editorial. The comment, column 5 is proposed change by the expert, and the column 6 is the statement, whether accepted or rejected, or asking for further proposals or more precise things like that. So this is how it works. I must say that in these projects, the experts that provided comments did really deal quite easily with this process. It's allowed them to share also not only the new version, but also all tracking of which comment has been raised, where does any change or evolution come from related to a comment, which is also a very precious tool for having something solid in the hands for knowing where it comes. Next slide, please.
Next.
Yes, please, Yaman. No. I understand. Slide takes 15 seconds to change, and
That's fine. Yeah.
So the previous one, please.
Yeah. Previous one. Okay. The one with the picture.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is a picture of the partners meeting in Lausanne last September. Just a summary on that slide. On the first working draft, 87 comments, 24 on the next round, 44 on the next round, but there were new material in it, which means, okay, the new comments also, and on the exam material, which we prepared early this year, 130 comments. So this is quite a live involvement of experts shared within the experts raising comments. This is not so many comments for all of them individually, but collectively it is a great achievement. And again, we will have last round parallel to the pilot. Next one. This is an abstract of the ISO 17024 standard. I told you this is the requirement standard for competent certification schemes. And you have here a rough picture of what is required and what we aligned with, or try to align with within our schemes, scope and job task and description, which is competence matrix. Both required competence and job task and description are covered by the competence matrix. Prerequisites, code of conduct, all these kind of things that are in our scheme. And then the 8.3 with criteria for initial certification, recertification, and surveillance, if any, and things like that. Surveillance method, criteria for suspending, withdrawing, so this, all this shall be regulated. Usually, within the ISO 17024 certification business, usually the certification bodies themselves have to develop the schemes. If they want to offer services for certifying an adult trainer, for instance, they have to develop the scheme themselves, which means that if you have 20 certification bodies interested in offering such certification services, you will have 20 different schemes developed by 20 certification bodies, which all invest money in that, but at the end, you will have 20 different schemes with a different relevance value and no possibility to compare anything. And what we try to bring in with by forming such, developing such competence certification schemes, mutualized and centralized within EU projects, is to develop a scheme that the certification body can apply to which would be consistent for all certification body affiliated to this scheme, which is a great difference, which would mean, and we hope it's the case in this case, if we have, let's say, certification bodies applying from 4, 5, 6 countries in EU, they will all offer the same service against the same scheme, against the same requirements. And for a EU market, it is very relevant then to know, okay, this is the certificate will have the same value everywhere. This is also about mobility, about mutual recognition, transparency of competence, all that. This is really key. And this is why we do all that under the ISO umbrella also. Next slide, please. This is the matrix. I won't tell any additional word about the matrix. You had already a lot of explanations about that. Just to say that the matrix has been developed through the same process with these successive commenting rounds until we get that stage here, and maybe after the pilot we will have to adjust maybe slightly or dramatically, we don't know. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is still the matrix. No interest. Go skip this one. Prerequisites. We saw that in 17024 there are eventual prerequisites that shall be defined. These are the ones we retain for the WBL mentor. This is about basic education. This is about work experience. This is about mentoring experience. Basically, we kept it simple, hopefully, and usable. If you have any comment on that, of course, use the chat or apply as expert to raise your comments in the coming months.
Bonjour Lise, c'est Gérard, comment ça va?
Bonjour Gérard.
Je suis en pleine vidéoconférence, je fais un cours là. Est-ce que je peux...
Can you mute our guest?
Oui, bien sûr, je vais te rappeler. Redonne-moi ton nom.
A Canadian guy which applied to...
Yes, in fact.
Sorry, I had to mute Monsieur Blin. Yes?
Oh, it's okay. Good.
Okay, that's nice. So these are the prerequisites that will be part of the exam. The first stage of the exam will be that the candidate enters justification for his prerequisites. This will be assessed, and if compliant, he will be released to the exam. So next slide, please. And then the main part is, of course, the competence, which is, again, the matrix. And the plan so far is to go through this, to address these competencies with various approaches. The most important being a cross-matching between the self-assessment of the candidate, which is the line C, bullet C on the table you have on the slides. The candidate will self-assess against the competencies, his level or whatever. I don't know exactly whether we are going to provide some scoring or some wording, I don't know. And then the candidate will have to upload as evidence for demonstrating his competence some evidence, some documents. This is a way we design the exam process so it can be done remotely, which means you can have the candidate at whatever place who goes through the exams, which means he will self-assess, upload his documents and so on, and then you appoint an examiner, or the certification body appoints an examiner, hands over or gives access to, assigns the candidate's folder to the examiner, and the examiner will remotely assess that. And what the examiner will do is, okay, go through the self-assessment of the candidate, open the evidence provided, and assess himself whether is the supporting evidence that has been provided demonstrates that the competence is applied. For instance, an easy competence to assess this way around is, okay, the mentor shall be able to set objectives for the mentoring, to evaluate achievement of the objectives, and to remediate in case of problems and so on. This is something very easy to have tracks and records of that can be handed over and uploaded for as evidence. So this is what we try to do, to have a flexible approach, flexible in terms of availability, geographically, at open time slots with no limitations for that. So this is the main part of the exam. You have on the top of that short sessions after the prerequisites were already talked about, and then you have free mentoring folders that the candidate shall upload, where the examiner will also be able to look for some evidence. And then we complete the assessment with 20 questions, multiple choice, and 10 open questions related to mentorship. So this is for the initial certification. For the surveillance, here we propose just to have, because certification is something which is limited in time. You are competent today, but if you don't mentor any mentee for 5 or 10 years, your competency is no more demonstrated, and maybe you lost it. So this is why there is recertification after, in that case, 5 years. We have a scope a bit different, and in between require a yearly surveillance in form of just a testimonial of mentees that would be demonstrating that competence is maintained and used. So this is about the format, but this is going to be challenged and during the pilot, of course, whether this model here fits, or whether 5 years is too long, or whether multiple choice questions are not acceptable or have no value because they don't change anything to the results. If we would not consider MCQ results, final outcome of certified or not would be the same. So this is something which is going to be part. This is how it is meant for now. Next slide, please. This is the examiner's profile, which is also defined in the scheme. Of course, not anybody can be nominated and appointed as examiner. There are some prerequisites which we defined, and also ISO 17024 bullet B that you have on the screen has some requirements basically which we took on board, and this will be part of the scheme. Whether we need to be more tough with the examiner or more specific or require a superior education level, for instance, than the mentors, I don't know. This is also a part of the next slide. We have dispositions in the scheme so that examiners get trained before being accepted, and if the scheme takes off, we hope the idea is, according to 5.4 here on the slide, is to develop a calibration for the examiners. Quite simple. You take a case, a candidate, either fictive or real, if he accepts, and you validate a standard marking of that within the scheme committee, and then you ask all the examiners to mark this candidate. And you will see how discrepant the examination markings will be, or which maybe out of 12 you will have 9 or 10 which are quite consistent in examination, and the 3 others that are totally opposite and in the extremes. So this is what calibration would be about. And so, next slide, please. The important, you see with all this disposition is that setting the requirements for the competencies is not enough. And the scheme around that starts with all these questions. How to assess that? Which kind of questions, if any? Which approach? How to get evidence? Who will be allowed, according to meeting which criteria to be considered relevant to mark an exam? How does the exam process, how shall it be managed? All these questions. This is all what we call the scheme around just the central column, which is the competence matrix. The next steps that we have ahead of us, we have, as I said, 130 comments on the exam process and material, which we have to deal with before the pilot starts. Implement the exam material on the VIASYS platform, which is output 6. You will hear about that later this afternoon. Pilot test, competence exam, we talked about that. Collect the comments from the pilot and around the pilot, and finalize and publish the scheme. That are going to go until February next year. Slide, please. If any, I'm not sure. We are looking, yeah, if you want to apply. We are looking for mentors, WBL mentors as candidates, for applying to, as well, training. You will hear about that training. You heard about the syllabus, the training, corresponding training, which is output 5, will be available and will be piloted as well. So WBL mentors interested in that could apply for training, but also for the certification, of course, or for both. We are looking for certification bodies for persons interested to act also and to be involved in the pilot. We have two, but we have others. If one of you is a certification body for persons or knows one, don't hesitate to contact me. And examiners also, of course, think they would be interested in getting trained as examiner and getting involved and cross-checked also, because the idea is that each candidate will be assessed by two examiners so that we can also cross-match these results during the pilot, or also enhancing and demonstrating the reliability of the scheme and reproducibility of the marking, which will be very interesting. Pilot will be November, December, but applications please until September, so that we can organize that. And also, as said, all of you, any of you who would be interested in applying as experts, just for commenting on the scheme, please send me an email or send an email to any partners and over to me. Any other slide? Not sure. Benefits of getting involved in the pilot and or as experts for all of you who are concerned by WL mentoring is having the word, having your word to say, having influence on the final outcome, which is having opportunity to exchange with an international panel of experts, shaping the future, sharing this information around you to prepare some mindsets or whatever, getting reassured on the reliability of the process. So there are many advantages, and this is actually the way ISO works. All experts in ISO framework worldwide, or thousands and thousands and thousands of standards, are unpaid. They are paid by their own company or whatever. But for any standard, existing standard, you have companies and you have organizations all around who are definitely convinced there are so many advantages to have the information as insider, to have influence on it, to know 2 years before the others what is going to happen, where it is going to go, and so on. So there are really advantages. It fits very well with the spirit of an Erasmus Plus project, where dissemination is important, where broadening the circle of people we involve with. So this was my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and of course,
thank you very much.
The floor is open for any questions.
Thank you very much, Didier. At this point, I would like to repeat what Didier said before, that we are going to share with you an email after the end of this online event, in case someone would be interested in applying for our expert committee, or for their pilots, or for any of the needs for the pilots for the certification scheme. And we should not forget that we are going to share with you an evaluation about this workshop, an evaluation link. And I would suggest that we already share the link in the chat room. So anybody would like to evaluate the workshop, they would be able to. And of course, we can email it in the end of the workshop. And we can continue with the interactive activity for this I/O, Yaman.
We have, sorry for the noise.
It's okay. we will again provide
we have just a moment. I will write. We have poll questions. If Didier wants us to share.
I don't know how you did deal with the questions electronically, but if you just can share them.
I can share the links just like I did with Jenny. I have links for them. They are pretty much the same questions that you went over. They are very easy yes or no questions. Would the members would like to go over them in 5 minutes so we will get a feedback on them? I think it will be valuable to collect that data in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I really like the questions you sent to us. They are very to the point and very simple to answer. Let's begin with the first forum. They are very simple ones. I will email them to our 5 participants who said that they are not able to access to the forum as well on the site. Let's take like 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes will be enough for these ones. 30 seconds, sorry, not 30 minutes. 30 seconds will be enough, and then I will post
30 seconds, yeah.
Well,
I was about to have a heart attack.
And in this question, if I'm not mistaken, Didier is asking, is the competence of the WBL mentor an issue in your country?
Can you display the questions on the, I don't see that.
And is there any national competence acquisition and recognition framework for WBL mentors in your country? That's the second question.
Yes.
I'm sharing it with our...
So in case of yes answer to this question, please also mention the country. We can get in touch because it would be very
The links are shared, by the way.
And Mr. Blanc is also asking us, do you see an interest and feasibility for an EU-wide harmonized competence recognition certification framework for WBL mentors in his third forum question?
I think the project, the answer.
Can we see the answers as well?
Yes, I don't see. Can you share the questions and answers?
The answers, sure. I need to go to the forum page and share my screen with you.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Answering at the moment. Let me mute my phone because there are handymans that started working like 15 minutes ago. And I will share my screen with you so you will have the responses to the first 3 poll questions if there is any.
This is the first question, is the competence, and we have a team. Good. Yes, 72% yes. It's
Okay.
very positive that in
but positive, I don't know. English native have another understanding of issue than French-speaking people like me. For us, issue is a problem. And as I understood after 10 years with ISO, that issue is not just a topic to address. But in any case, this is something really relevant in most of countries. Yeah.
What are your views on the use?
Next one.
Is there any national competence acquisition recognition framework? Basically, most people don't know probably because it does not exist. Don't know and no. Very few answers yes. 17% yes, there is competence acquisition recognition framework for work-based learning vendors, only 16%, 17.
So please, those of the participants who could answer yes, it would be very interesting that if you give us just information, at least the country or the name of the framework. It would be very interesting,
Yes.
either on any email or in the chat.
And they can unmute the microphone if there is a participant
Also,
that they already have a competence scheme, a certification scheme for in-company work-based learning mentors. It would be very interesting to see what has been already developed.
okay, third question, is it interesting also? Nobody is against?
And very good, 70% that there is interest.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah, no answer. So
This is our fourth poll.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen and post it. Sorry. I'm also emailing it to our friends as well.
Yeah, man, this is Andre. Just to let you know, we're getting these fine by email. They're coming through great. Thank you.
So I don't need to keep emailing them?
Yes, please. Yes, just to confirm I'm getting them. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. That's going to make it easier for me. Let's answer.
How about
maybe
the others? As far as I remember, there were 5 people. Yaman.
Yaman, yes, you should email because they just.
How about the rest? Yes.
They are getting it, so you keep emailing them.
Okay, so I think that was Mr. Walker. You say you're getting it?
Yes, they just confirmed they're getting, and they're getting their answers. So
okay, I will take
keep
Mr.
emailing.
Walker. Okay.
Because
And
these very crucial questions. It is a question about our project and what they have just seen with the DDR presentation. And the feedback is really important.
Let me post one more question. Question number 5. If applicable, would your organization apply to the EU WBL mentor certification? That's the question. Let me post it. And I will email it to our guests, taking Mr. Walker out.
I don't think that it was Mr. Walker.
Wasn't it? Okay, then I'm not going to take a chance.
Hi, no, Yaman, thank you very much. I am receiving the links and they're working fine. So please continue sending them through.
Okay.
And there is one last one before we go to the results. Let's have the last question.
There are actually 2 questions left. So let me post question 5, 6, and 7 so we can take a look all of them together. We don't need to go back and forth.
Yes, would be good.
This is our 6th question, and there will be a 7th and the last one. Just a moment. We need to copy this and email it. And after you're done, you can come back to the chat board and share your opinion on the last question of EFCOCERT.
assume somebody will store the results and share them within the partners.
We will take a look at them one by one.
No.
Go ahead and
take note.
I'm gonna just share the final link with our partners, and now they have it too. Just give them like some time to these 4 or 5 partners to access to the forum and submit their responses. In the meantime, I will share my screen with you and go to the forums. And I think it's question number 4, that where we left off, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just a moment. I took the liberty of
comments here, Yaman. Do we have comments here?
Oh, if there is any, that's my screen. That's all we have.
Okay.
It might be individual. No, I don't think so. Probably command part needs to be activated, and in this case, I didn't.
So actually, I really wonder why people think that it's not consistent, so that we can fix it if it's possible.
Yeah, this is exactly.
It will be a really valuable feedback to us if you have any opinion on why it's not consistent. This is the time for us to go back and fix it. I'm gonna stop sharing this screen for you to see the chat board. If there's any response regarding that. If any one of our guests, would you like to share opinion with us on why it's not consistent? Which part of it is not consistent, actually?
Or any suggestions for improvement? Any suggestions for amelioration of the certification scheme?
Okay, and
no hands?
No hands. In that case, I will go back, sharing my screen, and take you to the 5th question of Didier. And here are the responses.
We have, yes, we have one response.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, from Anne Minton.
From Miss Anne Minton. From my perspective, some elements are not consistent with the accepted definition of the role of the mentor, without rehearsing my arguments about objectivity. Miss Minton, could you unmute and discuss your perspective? Would you like?
Yes, that's fine. I don't want to go back over what I said previously. For me, the role of mentor is separate from any form of assessment, either work-based or college or school-based, and it is not involved in line management. The most literature suggests that a mentor should be completely separate from that to provide a supporting and enhancing role rather than involved in assessment or management.
Yeah, but should he be or she be certified for what he or she does, or without certification?
I think that's always a good idea. If people have had training and are certified for what they do, that's fine. But what we need to be careful of is that certification doesn't imply that you assess the same student that you're mentoring.
Oh, no. The certification scheme is about the mentors to be, the future mentors, that they are certified and professionalized in what they are doing. This was the certification scheme about. It's
yes. Yes, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that I'm questioning the need for assessment at this point. Implied assessment of the same student. They do need to understand assessment, but I don't think you should link the two together necessarily.
You mean that we shouldn't certify in their certification? We shouldn't certify their competence in assessment mentees. Is this what you're trying?
No, what I'm saying is they do need to understand assessment, but we need to make it clear that the assessment would be objective and not necessarily involved with their own mentee. It could be the assessment of somebody else.
Yes, but this
objectivity.
Is this involved with their certification in any way?
Yes, I'm saying they should be certificated to be able to. Gosh, I'm the one that's supposed to speak English as my first language and I can't get my words out. I think they do need to be certified in being able to assess, but we need to make clear that there is separation between mentoring of one student and assessment of another.
Yes. What I understand, maybe what is consistent with the way we think to approach that is first that there is no observation on the job. There is no the way we imagine the exam process or the assessment process. So there is no personal contact and no way to judge how a mentor and the mentees work together and how the feeling is between them. This will be based on evidence provided. Again, I took the example of the ability to set objectives, to provide action plans, to reach them, to monitor whether their achievements, to remediate as necessary. These are things that are very objective. And if the mentor provides evidence of cases where he did that, this will be assessed, I think, objectively by an examiner who doesn't know the mentor, who will not be influenced by the relationship and the personal way it functions between the mentor and the mentee. I think this goes towards objectivity. Another thing which would go also towards objectivity, I think, is that at least pre-mentoring folders are required as prerequisites, which is not beyond one single relationship. And then surveillance, where only the mentee or mentees are asked to provide some testimonials on yes, the mentor listens to me, the mentor is able to motivate me, full stop. And so it is also some kind of activity. If you multiply that by I don't know how many X cases per year or things like that. So totally in line with you that activity is key in that process.
Just to inform everyone that we are running over time, it's 40 minutes now, but maybe we can have this discussion later because it's a deep question and I think it requires a response, but we can leave it for later and go back and discuss it.
Show the rest of the responses.
Sure.
Yes, no, maybe. Yeah. So all we ask, you are welcome.
That's perfect.
20 responses, you are 12.
We will share a link, an email at the end with the participants showing how they can apply for the pilots, for the expert committee. And could you, Yaman, also share in the chat room the evaluation link in case somebody would like to go through the evaluation now?
No.
And
okay.
Let's go to the next presentation.
No, I have. There is one question left. No.
Oh, sorry. Is it? Which question is left?
This is the last one.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for yeses and maybes.
Yes.
And also no's to save us time.
That's good. That's a clear answer. That's fine. Great.
Thank you.
Great feedback. Great feedback. Thank you to all of you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your feedback and for your participation. It's really, really important for us to get all these new perspectives and add to our work. So now we have Professor Reza presentation from UK. Is that right?
I think we have 10 minutes break.
Everybody a break for 10
Actually,
minutes.
this is the moment in our program where we have the short break of 10 minutes to 15 minutes.
So we can share the link for the evaluation in case during the break somebody would like to evaluate our workshop, our online workshop, and we can have our break.
Certainly.
For 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes, and I hope you.
This is our closing poll. Just so before you leave, we would appreciate if you. It's just a few questions that was prepared. I think Ms. Vasilis.
Yes. Either now or at the end of the session, if you want, of the event, you can provide your feedback about your impression for our event. And after the break, do not forget that we will present also the modules, so and the assessment procedure, and also the certification platform. Very, very interesting things. So be back after 10 minutes, and there are plenty of interesting things to see in this online event, and participate again with your feedback.
My advice is leave your video on. I mean, you can switch it off, but don't go out of the program. Coming back may pose a problem for some individuals.
Okay, Professor. But I have to go.
Turn off the video and the microphone, and it's okay.
Switch off the microphone and video, but don't switch off the MS Teams.
The platform, yes.
Talk to you soon.
And be back, because it's very interesting what follows. It's really, really very interesting.
Wonderful.
Okay, let's have this 10 minutes.
So it's a very simple solution, probably with
I myself and others repeatedly telling us that they needed to create a task force to provide stories to staff and to parents about safety. Unfortunately, government so far has failed on this.
the violence here is anxiety about the virus and major concerns over what children will miss out on being away from school for so long. We worry about the coronavirus. Absolutely need to do everything we can to save, but there could be an epidemic of educational poverty, a growing digital divide, and a safeguarding crisis with children. There are calls for more online teaching and for schools to expand by taking over other buildings. Latest figures show only half of schools and nurseries took more children last week. Around a quarter of eligible pupils were in class. This decision only applies in England. It highlights the difficulty schools get challenge providing education in the meantime. Adam Johnson, BBC News.
Well, we get some reaction now, especially by the government. We're joined by Emma Meadus, who's the head teacher at Valley Primary School in Harrogate, where years 1 and 6 have been going back to school. And also I'm joined by Mum of 3, Leila Preston, who's a writer and owner of online magazine The Motherhood Diaries. She joins us with her children, Aaron, Aidan. Leila, good to see all of you. Many thanks indeed for being with us. Emma, Meadus, first of all to you, we've spoken to you before on this programme at around about this time a couple of weeks ago. What is your reaction to this government's announcement?
Nice to have some guidance on this. We have been really worrying as head teachers about how we're going to bring children back. health and safety coming first. That's the main priority at the moment.
Leila, let's go to you, number 3. What's your reaction to this government announcement? How does it affect you first of all, and generally, what do you think of it?
Well, I wasn't affected so much as the railway. They're in year 4 and year 3, so they weren't actually affected by the 1st of June second start. But we also self-isolated a week before lockdown, 16 weeks now, 15, 16 weeks. So it's been a long time. I work at home and maybe homeschooling is testing at best. And even though I wasn't going to I am really worried about other aspects of it. We talked about the socializing aspects of it, which is something that you can't teach each other. This is what I'm worried about, because teachers, I'm by no stretch a teacher. I do my best to do the tasks, as much as I can, but that's the best I can do. I can't teach them socializing, I can't teach them the classroom rules, etiquette, things like that. And if they're up at school for 6 months, it's a long time, and it will be very disruptive to get back.
Let's put that to Emma Venus as a head teacher. How worried are you? I mean, we talked about the educational gap that they're going to suffer with kids. Also, as we were hearing there from Leila, there's a social gap. They can't be with their friends. I heard one child earlier on saying, people saying, I just miss
We've been open for year 1 with we've seen the children be absolutely delighted to be with their friends again and to see their teachers as well. So we know they're really, really missing that, and my school got out of it very concerned about that. We try to do everything we can by calling parents on a weekly or every other week basis to see how they're doing, to get some idea of the kind of support children might need when they come back, if there have been mental health issues, see what we can do to help with that. But it's very difficult at the moment. What we're social distancing rules are relaxed, and as we move towards the day, that the children will be able to see their friends at the meetings.
Leila, the government has been under pressure from teaching unions, from some parents as well. Do you think in the end they made the right decision today?
Yes, because I think we rushed into the school starting on the 1st of June.
Hello?
Hello, everyone. I think people are coming back. I can see the numbers are building up. I can see you, Elisa. Can you see anybody else?
Hello, Razor. It's Ian here.
Hello, Ian. Nice to talk to you. And I can see Fred. Gosh,
hello, Raza.
Hello, Fred.
I'll just turn my video on for a moment.
I can see you now, Ian. Yes,
it's so good to see you. It's been a long time, Razor. Are you keeping well?
Yes, keeping well. Yes, thank you, Ian, and very nice to see you. And I noticed
you've got John with you as well.
Yes, John is is inseparable now.
Oh. Excellent. Thank you for looking after him.
Yes, but he's looking after me as well. So.
Good to see you both.
Good to see you. And it's good to have Captain Richard Graham on board, so that if we decide to take this further, we can then discuss it.
That's what we're hoping. That'll be excellent, wouldn't it?
And I think Fred Also, maybe Fred would implement it in Aston Martin. He always wanted to be one of my mentees. This is your opportunity, Fred.
Exactly.
Hello.
Hello.
Ready for?
Are we ready for the next presentation? Let me check how many have logged in, because we had 140 something before. Let me check. We have 141. There are very few that have not logged in. Of course, I don't know, maybe they have switched off their microphones and they are not in their screen. But you may, Professor, you may click the full screen for your presentation.
Can you see it now, the full screen?
No.
No, actually not.
Oh, I just shared it. I can see it, but you cannot see it.
No, probably Yaman should.
What's Yaman here for, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made some minor changes to it, but it doesn't matter. We can go to Yaman's.
Yes,
So,
Yaman
Professor,
can.
I'm pulling it off. Let me share my screen with you.
Okay. While Yaman is getting it ready, can I thank all the participants, especially those that have been invited to Center for Factories of the Future.
Number four, this one, yes.
Yeah, that's.
Can you full screen it, Yaman? Can you make it full screen? Perfect.
Jenny, I think we also have a raised hand by one of our guests, Gerard Blin. Can you see it too, as well?
We have
a raised hand.
A raised hand? Oh, yes, we do. Yes.
Pass the floor to him.
Would you like to unmute? Mr. Blin?
Yes, it's me. Do you listen? Do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
It's fantastic. I'm hearing all the expert from Montreal, Canada, and I will eventually participate, contribute whatever it will be necessary to the development of your project. I already take a lot of notes of something on the pro and con of the approach. I will try to communicate this to you, or to the team, the team of teams. Then I would like to, first question, is the webinar closed or not?
This webinar is closed, Professor. This webinar is closed to the people who previously shared their emails to us, with us, and we have to introduce them to the class one by one.
One by one.
If there is anyone that you think that could give us a feedback, just give his or her email to me, and I will immediately send her the link.
Who is talking presently?
Oh, sorry. This is the face, Professor.
Oh, it's Yaman. Yes? Yaman, okay. So, Yaman, I just want to tell you from Montreal that the line has been cut off at 11 local 11 in the morning and 11 minutes, and so we lose 40 minutes of the webinar. So if it is registered, it's not a problem. Then just we will access to what we have lost. Probably there is an Oregon over the Atlantic, so I don't know. So just to let you know that, and to see, especially as discussed already with Florence Leland, if there is some possibility in this European international project to have some communication in French.
Yes, for sure. I'm French. Yes,
Oh, you are.
I sent.
Who is talking? Who is? Ah, it's Florence. Okay, so she already
Yes,
knows.
hi.
Et puis moi, je suis suisse, mais ma langue maternelle, c'est le français.
Oh, okay. So
C'est Didier.
because one is a nicely daily talking, no problem to exchange in English, of course. But when is we are questioning roots and some deep concept on the expertise. It will be much better quality if we use our own language, you know.
No problem.
Yes.
No problem, Gerard. If
No
you want
problem?
to apply as expert, if you want, I tell it in English so that everybody knows what we are speaking about. But if you apply as expert and raise comments in French, for me, it will be no problem. It's me who deals with the comments, and then I will, of course, answer them in English. But, don't hesitate to communicate in French.
Thank you very much of this approach, because in North America, as you know, French talking is a minority, and we try to maintain this language. But of course, we use, as everybody, the worldwide common language, English, of course. I will try already take some notes, but I will communicate to whoever is concerned, but maybe to Florence, I don't know. Some comments, but in writing. I will, because the only way to have a quality exchange, you know, if it is not in written, I believe that the communication will pour.
Certainly.
No problem.
After the meeting, I will immediately share Didier and Florence emails with you, Monsieur Belin, and you can communicate them.
We will try to see if we can upload the video in our website with the whole workshop, so any missing parts can be regained. We will investigate this possibility.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, and I sent you the information in order to apply to be as expert. Did you receive it?
Hello?
Hello. Yes, I sent you the information to apply to be expert in the project. You received it?
You are talking to me, Gérard Blin?
Yes.
Oui,
yes.
J'ai envoyé le document.
I didn't receive yet, or maybe I didn't read the more recent information. But anyway, whatever is the language, I intend to spend some time on this and to read it carefully, and you can be sure that you will have an opinion of a guy who is working since now over than 32 years in quality assurance, expertise, counseling, blah, 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 all what is concerned by your initiative, and I will provide some opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great to have also North American approaches benchmarked. So this is very, very
yes.
great
It's interesting to compare the North American approach, you know, which is quite different than in Europe. I'm born in Paris, by the way, so I'm still a true European, but I'm also North American now. And the approach is completely different, probably, as you know already. And we are very influenced by the UK approach, BSc approach, and the ISO approach, and so on. So it's quite close to EcoSet vision. But there is a lot of work to do to build a program to create a mentorship. No, there's a lot of work, and we need a lot of people, a lot of brain.
That's true, and we are aware of it.
Thank you very much. Well, let's start with thank you for your kind words. It's impressive that we have participants outside Europe, from USA, from Canada. That's a thing that our webinar is very interested in a worldwide phase. So, please, Professor Reza Zarati, please, the floor is yours.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much for all of you that are participating. Just to start, is that the key areas where feedback is requested is the overall suitability of the assessment practice and its accreditation of prior learning process, as well as its external and internal assessment requirements. You also want some feedback on the competence grading system, as well as the feedback mechanism which we have inbuilt within this program. Let's go to the next. The next two slides actually have already been presented, who the partners are. Maybe now we go to the next one, Yaman. Yeah, and the target groups. Just this is for completion, I included these. Can we go to the next one? And also in terms of project innovation, the only thing that from my point of view is important is what is so innovative about our assessment practice. And I hope that by the feedback that you provide today, you are going to go and make some improvements to what we have already done. Next one. Okay, the actual intellectual output 4 is a report, and it has 4 chapters. The chapter 1 is mentors methodology for the delivery, preparation stage, delivery and application, compliance, validation, and assessment material, and then it comes up with a number of conclusions. Well, I have sent this document to many of you, but obviously if you haven't received it, if you ask Yaman or myself or any of the members of the partnership, I'm more than happy to send you a copy of the report. Next one.
Actually, it's a good time to mention that all these presentations are at the files part of the program, so you can download them yourself if you're free.
I meant in addition to this presentation, the actual report. If they want a copy of report,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, yes, yeah, they can have a copy of report because this is a European funded project. There is nothing secret, so if people would wish to have a copy, they're more than welcome. Before I start, so far what you have heard is that there are a number of competences, and these competences have been transformed into learning outcomes, and the learning outcomes have now got 4 units, and these units are made of number of learning outcomes and competences. If you look at our matrix, it's over 80 competences and about similar numbers of learning outcomes. And it was similar number of the assignment criteria and assessment criteria. And obviously that was too huge. So collectively, we decided to concentrate on 12 competences. And these competences were transformed into 12 assessment criteria. And by assessment criteria, I mean the criteria is needed for those set of competences to be achieved. And the performance criteria is then is decided by the grading system. So I will go and explain the grading system too. But the story starts from our point of view with the transformation of the first intellectual output, which was about the role of the mentor's profile. and looking at the course design and syllabus design. So we looked at that, and we also knew that there is going to be this ISO certification assessment. And by ISO certification assessment here, I mean ISO 17024 compliant certification scheme. So this scheme is standalone. Whether people are going to come and take our course or not, they can go and register and take this certification process. And this certification process has got a bank of multi-choice questions. And obviously, if you're successful, depending on the criteria, you will be certified. From our point of view, this certification system is part of our final assessment and is not obligatory. So if you want to get the ISO certification, you can go and have it. And if you don't, you can still take our course and take part in our learning and assessment processes. Now, one of the things we first did was we looked at there are people who are going to come on this program. So accreditation of prior learning was very important to us. So what we did was we transformed the role of the mentor, the mentor's profile, into 20 multi-choice questions. So that the first person who's come to take advantage of this course will come and talk to the instructor. The instructor is familiar with what the course contains, what are the learning outcomes, what assessment and materials and so on, and also give this person this set of multi-choice question, which is based on the mentor's profile, and also talks to him about all the other assessment opportunities. And in his view, if he thinks this person can get some credit for the prior learning, that credit is given. So that is the highest start. The second thing I must say that we made sure our program is EC-VET compliant. No, that has got a set of requirements which I will explain as we go along. So can we go to the next slide, Yaman? Now, the assessment system here, as I explained, it incorporates the EC-VET for the assessment of vocational and training outcomes of individuals, with a view to help to promote a greater transparency of vocational qualification and hence the mobility of citizens throughout Europe and worldwide. So if you're having a certification which is based on, is compliant with EC-VET and you're getting a credit, it is like the ECT. If you're familiar with the degree programs, how university exchange. So that credit system gives people the credit to be able to be mobile. And that is obviously an important aspect of our program. Most of you know that why we assess. It is really to ensure all knowledge, skill, competences defined or achieved. And the development approach has been, in our view, novel in that the assessment and the course development have been carried out in parallel, and that the assessment practice is an integral part of the learning strategy. So the stress is on learning. The provision of the opportunities for formal and informal self and peer assessment in several assessment opportunities also should be considered innovative, as I will explain later. Next. Now, the IO1 has been with IO2, and the certification program has already been incorporated in IO4, which is about the assessment system. What I want to emphasize is that each and every learning outcome is assessed, and this is a competence-based assessment. So in our view, just through a multi-choice question, this assessment cannot, these competences cannot be achieved. And you require a number of assessment methods and assessment opportunities to make sure that the competences are achieved and graded accordingly. Within our learning and assessment, we have got written and oral assessment, formal, non-formal, and obviously some of this assessment is informative, some of this is summative, and so on. Is there any? Okay, I will carry on. I think there is a bit of background noise, but I will carry on. Now, the assessment and award of the credit for each unit of learning is ECVET compliant, ACVET compliant. The course development took unit of learning, the course development took into consideration the appropriate feedback and assessment procedures. So there are a lot of opportunities for feedback and assessment and improvements, because as a part of our quality assurance and control philosophy, we believe that of creating opportunity for feedback is very important. There are means of both internally and externally to examine the learners' assessed work. This is not just doing the assessment of the course, but the assessed work within the program. And a form is devised to sample learners' assessed work so that there will be a greater opportunity and fairness in assessing and grading the learners' work. Next. This is the table we developed initially. This is to depict our assessment process. We have got the learning outcomes, the units, and then these are broken down into outcomes, the ability to do, and the assessment criteria, as I